Are you ready?
I'm ready. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Remind podcast. I'm Dr. Ashley Morland and I'm joined by my co-host David Masterton. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about the difference between healing and when things just suck. So, Dave, give us some context around this because you have questions. This is actually the first time in a little while we haven't previously spoken in depth about the topic before we record. I have thoughts on it and I can't wait to hear yours.
Yeah, so do I. I don't know if it's going to be a spoiler alert at the top of the show, but I've been pondering this for a little while, and an answer has come to me which I really don't like, which is there really is no difference between healing and something sucking. Like the actual event or whatever's going on, there is no difference because it's actually all healing. And the difference is my capacity to see it that way. It's my capacity to be able to go, this is something I need to either experience, express, and let go, or to be able to observe and find a new perspective on.
Well, show's over, guys, because that was my punchline. So, see
bada bing, bada boom. See ya. But you know what? The sucky thing about all of that is there is a part of me still that needs to feel as though that some things just suck.
Mm-hmm.
And that you have a point where I don't mind it actually, part of me sort of go, I actually want to play the victim here. I really need it to be that it's not just all about this brutal beating that is a healing journey.
Mm.
And I'm really selling this whole thing, but it's not always that bad. But there's a difference between when I observe something that just really sucks, it is coming from a victim mindset, but my God, it's strong.
Yeah.
Like to be able to stay curious in those things, it's still easily achievable, but it's just for me, I'm just finding there are points where I'm actively seeing myself wanting to be the victim, where before it was subconscious.
Yeah.
It was that ability. And if you go back to episode, it's either going to be the one before or, more recently, where we talked about the emotional orgasm and how sometimes that when we build up into that, it's needing to really vent out. Well, for me, venting out and having that emotional orgasm would always be around I'm right and I'm being wronged, as opposed to it's healing. I think that's where it is. So
yeah. Wow, that's actually huge. Did you ever was it ever okay in your earlier life for things to just suck? Or were you always talked out of it? Were you always sort of made to...
Yeah, always talked out of it. And I think it's not uncommon for a lot of people to sort of go, chin up. There are other people that are worse off. You've got, you haven't got a lot to whinge about. Because I didn't have a bad childhood. I was, there was not a lot of things that were issues, but when I had emotions, the right thing to do at that time by parents or grandparents or whoever you're raised by was to try and just make you feel better. And so, I mean, at that point, it's really just sort of not consciously, but it's invalidating. So it's sort of like, well, you're not allowed to feel that way because...
Yes. And that's what I'm feeling in this conversation. What's coming up for me is that you were never seen or heard in your suckiness.
But the people around me still cared for me.
There's no question about that. There's no question about whether or not they cared for you, whether or not they loved you, whether or not they wanted better for you. But it's really interesting because recently my son came home from school and he'd had conflict with friends and as you know, he's on the spectrum and he's quite rigid. So basically what was happening is he was playing with some friends and they were playing a game where there's set rules in the game and his friends started changing the rules.
Oh,
and
okay.
he was really wronged by that. He's like, that's not how you play. And he was so frustrated. And I said, sweetheart, it sounds like that would have been really frustrating for you because they were changing the rules and that's not how you play the game. And when they were changing the rules, it meant that he was out all the time and like
right. So the change of the rules suited them as well, did it?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so it felt really unjust for him. And just as he was talking about telling me the story, I could sense the frustration and the hurt and the injustice of it all. And I just said to him, dude, that must have really sucked. I'm so sorry. And he goes, yeah, it did. And then I shut my mouth.
Yeah, because, the old me would have been like, but you didn't help him at all. Because we've been programmed to, if you're going to be of help or of service, you have to do something that does something. You either have to give advice, you need to tell them, you need to look at it from this perspective, or you need to do that, or you need to do this, because that's what people who are caring and loving do. They help, and help has to mean action.
Yeah. Fix
in this case. Yeah.
Solve it.
Where as opposed to I understand your perspective. That must have really sucked.
Yeah. And full stop. End of sentence. That's it. And isn't that interesting? How healing is it to just be witnessed in your that sucks. This sucks. Go, that must really suck. I'm so sorry you're going through that, dude. That's crap.
This is a podcast. There's not a lot of dead air we should have.
Okay, but that gap was intentional.
Absolutely.
The gap was intentional because see how uncomfortable people get in the gap where they want to fill it.
Oh, 100%.
Usually what happens in that gap is the person who's just been validated will themselves take it deeper.
Don't even get me started on the power of silence, whether it comes to so many things.
Yeah.
Because we've been programmed to interact, and we've been programmed that it's rude to be silent.
Yeah.
If you are quiet in the corner and you're not interacting, you're ignoring others. And that could be also another thing where if you just need time to be silent and sit, and if you just sit with someone in silence, can they sit in silence?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Can they sit in silence while you're still feeling the feels? I think is the other part of that. I find it really interesting because then the next part of that is, what do you need right now? So this is the sequence, right? I would go, if someone has come and they're clearly having a vent. And, like I spoke recently in an episode where I just had a massive vent about the house and about this and about that and about this and about that and about this and about that. If someone's coming to you with a vent, you can assume that's their emotional orgasm, right? There's the stuff that's coming out. And so validate them. Let them know, man, that really sucks. It sounds like that's really crap for you right now. Sorry you're going through that. Pause. Then, what do you need right now? What do you need today? We've done this even with our podcast episodes when one of us has rocked up in a mood or one of us has gone through something brutal and we're just not feeling it. And go, what feels best for you today? What do you need right now? Sometimes we've rescheduled, we've just cancelled it. Sometimes we've used the time to just connect on a deep level and chat. Sometimes we've gone, what I need is to push through. I want to record. How different would our lives be if we were just given the space, if we were validated to be seen and heard and allowed things to just suck that suck, and then given the space to have our needs met?
And to realize you're actually doing something in the silence.
Yes.
There's actually, if you're not doing anything and you're not saying anything, there is actually still an exchange going on.
Yes.
There's a presence. There's an intention. It doesn't always have to be tactile. That you can see, hear, touch, taste.
Yeah.
What's going on, because it hasn't been valued like it's, like the awareness is coming through now. That can be incredible. You can have someone saying all the right things, and if their body language is off and their intention's not there, you can smell it. You can feel it. It's just, but the opposite is also, like, you don't need to feel it just to show someone that you're there for them. By the simple fact you're there, because, time in this reality is finite. You could be using your time doing other stuff.
Yes. I'm reminded of the episode we did on holding space. If we filled that gap, there's no space. The gap is often, so when we validate and the person feels seen, heard, and understood, they also feel important and they feel safe. The pause is the space. And which is why I say, in my experience, 9.5 times out of 10, when you create that space and you can hold the silence, the other person, when they're ready, will enter that space because there's been a space created for them. Yeah, that's really cool.
Or a vacuum. You create the vacuum and they'll fill it up.
So if you were to go back to what's the difference between healing and that just sucks, what is it?
Perspective, capacity.
Yeah.
It's the need to sort of validate that it's going to get easier.
Yeah.
That and it all comes down to capacity, because you could take the same David a week earlier looking at the same things and just merrily going along. That doesn't change. It's just that at that point I've dipped in capacity, I've dipped in something, and then from that capacity my perspective changes.
Yeah.
Because again, I need to feel as though I'm right and I'm being wronged.
Yeah.
I need to feel like the victim so that I can vent that out. And to be able to sort of go, it's not just me doing the wrong thing. It's not just me feeling this way. I'm right in my feelings. So it's almost like I need to feel validated in all of that.
Has that been a pattern for you throughout your life? Similar?
Look, subconsciously it must have been. Because here's the things, patterns, it's not like history repeats, but it rhymes. And so if it's coming up for me now, it would have absolutely been there before, just without the awareness, without the observation. And a lot more of that's been coming out recently. And I would have said no in the past because I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
Doors closed, lights are off. Can't see what's in there, but it's still affecting the way I do things and the way I feel. But when you go through every door in the house or every room in the house, open every door, turn on all the lights, and you start unpacking all the stuff that's been sitting there for a while, sometimes you might realise you've got a garage you never realised existed. Holy dooly.
Yeah.
It would have...
Isn't that interesting? Because what's coming to me around this is around the past versions of self thing. And about going, there's past versions of you that's coming into the present moment that's going, there's this injustice, it's not fair, and I need to be right, and you're not hearing me, and I'm not understood, and that's not fair. How often can you give that version of you a voice? Similar to what we spoke about, I think, was it last episode or whenever it was, how often can you give that you a voice and express it and say all the things that you need to get off your chest?
Well, when I looked at that person or that voice, it's not something that I would actively go seeking out, because when I started to think about what does being a good, aware, conscious person mean, well, it means not being that. And so at the start, it was more of anytime I feel that's a bad thing. I'm failing at this and all of that. move into sort of now, whenever it comes up, it's allowed to come up and come through. Before even starting the healing process, it was something that was constantly just there under the surface being managed. And it would come through with that. This is something I'm going to have to live with for the rest of my life, simply because people will always want to with me. Things will always go against me. I just need to be the bigger, badder, smarter motherfucker in this place. That's it. Right. And so it was like constantly there. Yeah. And so, but it wasn't in its right place. It was almost like it was a constant tension.
I think you've just summed up the question perfectly. Because to me, the difference between healing and this just sucks is the journey to accepting when something sucks. Nice. And that starts, so that starts out as massive victimhood. And that starts out as wanting to suppress. And it starts out as thinking that you've overcome it until it comes up again. And it starts out as something beneath the surface that just needs to be managed, right? And so the thing where it's just beneath the surface and just needs to be managed is you're in the identity of the problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, the hippo is back.
You're in the identity of the problem, right? So there's a massive identity issue here. There's a sense of self issue. And the healing journey is that you get to face the thing that sucks as this version of you, right? As your actual, authentic soul. You were created this way to be you, your real, true soul identity. And so let's say that the thing that sucks is, we've got a third prop. Woo! The thing that sucks is this water bottle. Now, the healing journey is about being able to be you in the presence, accepting the thing that sucks. In the absence of that healing journey, the thing that sucks is in the presence of you embodied by the emotions associated with it, in which case you lose yourself in the scenario or the situation and it overcomes you. It doesn't become an okay thing that's happening. It becomes the reality of what's happening that isn't okay.
Yeah.
And I think we can, I fall back into that. Absolutely. I have moments where I shape shift and, go back into that old mindset and that old identity. And I think because we're still here, we're always going to be on that journey. But if you look at your progress, if you look at where you were starting this healing journey, how you would have responded to the crap, how you probably wouldn't have even noticed the crap. And this is actually a really interesting point, because one of the things that I observed in my healing journey is that when your head is in the sand and you've got the earplugs in, you're going, la, 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 the crap is still there. The suck stuff is still sucky. And this, bad stuff happening in the world, and people let people down, and people lie, and people cheat, and people do these things. But you're somewhat protected from it, from a lack of the consciousness and awareness and the feeling level and all that sort of stuff. And so what I sort of see is this curve that actually starts out at a midpoint, and life gets harder or worse. Life actually gets more painful as we progress in our healing journey before it starts to come back up again.
The old bell curve.
Well, it's the opposite to a bell curve, really.
Yeah.
Sort of goes down.
The inverse. The inverse, yeah.
The inverse, yeah. Yeah, totally. And I think that's a really cool thing, because to me, healing is progressing along that x-axis.
And look, there's the stuff that we've spoken about, because we're reflecting on our own stuff, but I do believe it also applies to really big events in your life.
Yeah.
Abuse, disease, tragedies. All of those things, there's generally something in it. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to be able to be in that mindset at that time of the event, but I've spoken to people who have been through some of these things, and they don't see it during that time, but over time and reflection, it changes. Now, it doesn't necessarily change it goes from sucking to I'm grateful for it, but it goes from generally this really sucks and it's unfair and all of that, to there was some things that came out of this that I wouldn't have done without this.
Yes.
And so, while we've been talking about the whole general concept of this as just like the healing journey of releasing trauma, and we'll call it, some of the minor stuff, if there is such a minor and major, but, but traditionally, big events, big disease, big unfairness.
Yeah.
Some people can look at it and go, well, you just got no idea because you're talking about the loose change in your pocket, not the millions of dollars that's been lost in the bank account. I get that. But the same thing applies for both.
Yeah. Here's the image that came to my head when you were talking then. I was imagine literally a steaming pile of cow poo. Ooh. And you just, yum, yeah. And you eat the cow poo, right? And while you're eating it, you're like, this is disgusting. Why do I have to, this is so gross. This sucks. This is so bad. Yuck, 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 yuck.
Yep.
But then you realize that eating the cow poo actually healed all of your teeth that you were told were incurable.
Okay. Actually, the good thing is I won't need teeth. I'm all going to eat cow poo for the rest of my life.
No. You're not experiencing the crap for the rest of your life. It's a one-off crappy thing, right? It's a crappy session. You had one crappy meal. Yeah. Literally, it was crap. Okay, right? So the healing journey is not about saying that didn't suck. It's not about saying, oh, gee, that poo was delicious. I loved eating that poo. Gee, I wish I could eat that poo again. That's not the point. That's not what healed means. Healed means being able to reflect on that circumstance, no longer feel the charge of the negative emotions associated with being forced to eat the gross poo. You're no longer feeling the charge in your body of anger or injustice or whatever it might be, but you can look back and go, wow, I would never wish that, even on my worst enemy, I wouldn't wish for them to have to eat that poo because it was disgusting. But gee, I am so grateful I did, because my teeth are amazing. I have no pain, no temperature sensitivity. They're the whitest they've ever been.
Yeah, it was like Hollywood's finest. Anyone else hungry? I don't know. I'm thinking after this I might go grab something to eat.
Oh, that's hilarious. Don't you think? And this is where I say, there's got to be a level of validation that the thing that you went through sucks, or the thing that you're going through sucks. And sometimes it's just, now, it's not on me if I came up to you while you're eating the delicious poo, even if I knew it was going to heal your teeth. It's actually not on me to go, hey, if you just get through this, your teeth are going to be healed. It's kind of like, okay, that's your walk. That's your journey. And I think that's a really beautiful thing to go, okay, we are going to have some things that suck. And we don't even have to see the good in it in the moment. We have to be safe to experience what we're experiencing and to feel what we're feeling. And it's got to be allowed to be crap. It's got to be allowed to suck. Well, and going through a divorce sucks, and it's painful and it hurts. But it's got to be okay to feel that pain. You have to have people around you who can hold you in the safety of a container while you experience that pain. And then once you've experienced it and you've processed it and you look back and some time's passed and you can see how different things are now, all of a sudden that is so insignificant in comparison to it.
Yeah, it's a retrospective, because the healing journey, I love the analogy that you had, and I was going to add, but you added it already, that when you're eating the manure, because of the getting the great teeth, you don't know it at the time. All you're told to do is you got to eat the manure.
Yeah.
So all you're feeling in the moment is, I feel compelled to eat this manure, and that's it. Because I know it's going to be
like it's trapped, and it's being forced on you. It's unfair, and this sucks.
Yeah. So and you got to do it with faith. And so when you've had enough crap, this is where you start to go, well, all right, this kind of sucks, because there's the other side of you going, well, there's that manure over there, or you could go down to that cafe and get an Eggs Benedict or, you know, something else, right?
Yeah, totally.
And so it's that part where you sort of go, I've had enough of eating the crap.
Yeah.
But it's going to be finite. It's not always there, but in every mouthful, you're sort of thinking, when the hell is this going to end? Yeah. I've already had 1 mouthful, 2 mouthfuls, 3 mouthfuls, 4, and I've got another 5, and I can't see the end of this.
Yeah.
Brings a new meaning to beef patty, but you know.
Gosh, we have the opportunity to go down a rabbit hole, and I'm going to say it knowing that we don't have time left in this episode to go down the rabbit hole.
Hit the pause button on that. Yep.
Is that when people sit there and they eat the poo, but because they eat the poo and other people come around them and go, oh, you poor thing, you poor thing. Well, then they go, hang on a minute. I like how it feels when you come around me and pat me on the back and hug me and tell me that everything's going to be okay to make this discomfort go away. So I'm going to eat another one. Oh my gosh, hang on a minute. Oh my gosh. And all of a sudden, although you don't like eating the poo, the consequence, the secondary gain that comes from eating the poo, you go, oh, this is actually pretty good. So we actually start choosing the yuck. Like we actually start choosing the crap circumstance because of the secondary gains in our lives. Maybe we need to do a whole episode on secondary gains.
I think that's definitely another thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I think we've had enough poo talk for today.
So if we come back to the original question, difference between healing and things just sucking, what's your conclusion? How do you feel about it now?
Capacity and perspective. And how do you change that? Generally, it's reflection.
Yeah, cool. Reflection. And although time doesn't heal wounds, the right combination of processing and time can heal wounds.
Yep. 100%.
So the other thing that came into my mind, practical application for people, if you're really struggling with something and you feel like you're in the crap right now, sit down and think about what life looks like on the other side of the crap. How does your life actually improve once you're through the crap? So maybe you're contemplating, you're going through a relationship breakdown. Well, once it's all settled, once you're through the other side, what does that look like? What does your new life look like? What does freedom look and feel like for you? For me, one of the things that I sat down and I thought, okay, in 5 years, if I look back on this whole house and rotted floor situation, what might be the thing that makes me go, well, gee, that really sucked at the time, but I'm so glad that happened because. What's the because? Well, because now I get to live in this really beautiful renovated home and I love my home every day and I got to make my home the way I wanted it and like all that sort of stuff. Now that I needed to have the emotional orgasm first to be able to even be in the mindset to start thinking like that. But now that I've actually started, jumping on Pinterest and doing some Google image searches and looking up bathroom designs and started thinking, okay, what can we do here? And also focusing on the things that we have to be grateful for. I know that's so cliche and it really sucks, but that is the practical application and the what I would leave you with to apply this week, and let us know how you go with it.
Love it. Well, people, it's been a big episode of orgasms and cow patties. But I hope you got some.
What is going on with us at the moment?
Some good nuggets out of it.
Oh, gross.
No pun intended. But anyway, see you later, guys.
Bye-bye. Bye.